Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Ryan is my name. It's my privilege this evening to be your MC for our fifth awareness evening. I am a board member on the Brain Cancer Group, and it's a great privilege to have so many interested, passionate supporters of brain cancer research come and listen to our four amazing speakers this evening. As we begin, we would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we are meeting today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and the elders from other communities who may be here today. We would particularly like to pay our thanks to our parliamentary host, the member for Canterbury, Ms Sophie Cotsis. Sophie, you have been an invaluable supporter of the Brain Cancer Group, encouraging us to be here in 2016 for our inaugural event, and you have been a passionate advocate for us, which we are indebted to, and we look forward to your opening address very shortly. Unfortunately, the Honourable Brad Hazzard has sent his apologies this evening. However, representing the Honourable Mr Hazzard, we have Mr Justin Clancy, who's our Parliamentary Secretary for Health. So, Mr Clancy, it's a pleasure to have you this evening, and we'll hear from you in a few words later on. We will be joined by other parliamentarians this evening who, whilst currently in-house, will make their way in and out through the evening. Now, as I alluded to earlier, this is our fifth awareness evening, traditionally held in the first week of May during Brain Cancer Awareness Week. However, we haven't lived the pandemic unless you've had at least one reschedule. So it's a pleasure that, with the support of Sophie, we have been able to gather tonight and enjoy the quality of the speakers that we have. We would also like to acknowledge our wonderful new logo. As you have seen, we have moved away from the days of being SNOG and the Sydney Neuro-Oncology Group to the Brain Cancer Group, to the great logo that we have. We would really like to thank the talented team from Workhouse Visual Communications. So they are represented here this evening by Michael and Pat Calusi and Neril Press. They have been instrumental in rebranding, re-navigating, giving us a fresh new dynamic look that ensures our website is easy to navigate, appealing to the eye, and aligns with our three key pillars of support, education and research. I encourage you later on to visit our website, www.braincancergroup.com.au, and enjoy the wonder that is there and the information that is available. You will also notice that we have now included a community stories section. It's a great opportunity that we saw to align with our community and hear the stories of those patients retelling their brain cancer story. And there is certainly that opportunity to hear from other patients about their story that we then share with our wider brain cancer community. We would also acknowledge North Shore Private Hospital for their ongoing support, particularly their contribution towards the ongoing administrative costs of the Brain Cancer Group, as it certainly makes a difference as a not-for-profit. We would also like to acknowledge our Brain Tumour Alliance Australia, BTAA. We welcome the chairperson, Catherine Heinsohn, and members Alice Parson, Jerry Ty and Di Pooley. BTAA and the Brain Cancer Group have formed strong collegial collaborative partnerships. We are both here together to represent the public and our health professionals in ensuring we have informative education events to support our community needs. Our oligoglioma and our meningioma webinars are two such recent events. If you didn't have the opportunity to participate in them, both were recorded and are available via our website. In October this year, the Brain Cancer Group will again be sponsoring the BTAA Patient Forum, and that is taking place at the beginning of our Cogno conference. We look forward as a board to continuing our alliance with BTAA and continuing to collaborate as we support this important space. To each of you as our friends, our supporters, our ambassadors, our clinicians, our researchers, or representatives of every other brain cancer group, it's a great privilege to have you here this evening. We are honoured with the quality of our speakers, with our keynote address being delivered by Clinical Associate Professor Michael Buckland, Our other speakers being Associate Professor Michael Back, a fellow Director of the Brain Cancer Group, Dr. Alex Yule and Dr. Jackie Yim. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a great privilege that I now invite our host, Ms. Sophie Cotsis, our Shadow Minister for Industrial Relations, Shadow Minister for Work, Health and Safety, to open tonight's proceedings. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks, Richard, for that lovely introduction. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past and present. I want to thank you again for the invitation from the Brain Cancer Group and acknowledge that you've changed your logo and you've changed your name and you've grown over the last 5 years. And I want to acknowledge my friend, Suzanne Paponis Brasimis, who involved me in the Brain Cancer Group many years ago, and I'm very glad that once again I'm here as your host. But also it's fantastic to see new people coming here. I want to acknowledge, of course, all our medical professionals, and I want to thank you particularly what you've been able to do over the last 2 years. I also want to acknowledge my parliamentary colleagues who are here and also very supportive of the work that you're doing. As has been stated, Justin Clancy, who is representing Minister Hazzard. We also have Tara Moriarty, our Shadow Minister for Medical Research and Correctives, and also a member of the Upper House, who's also very interested in this area. And as we head to the election in the next 7-8 months, I'm sure that you'll be reaching out and advocating and putting forward your proposals in terms of what needs to happen here in New South Wales. I want to thank, of course, the staff, the volunteers, and of course the people who are here to tell their stories as well. And I see a number of you who've been here over the last, who've continued to come to show support. And also for those people that are watching, for those people who have been very supportive. It is very difficult. One of my friends at the moment is currently going through treatment. She's got brain cancer, so it's kind of hit me at a very personal level. And I think I know a number of you know that I had breast cancer a few years ago. So again, I want to acknowledge our medical professionals for your amazing work, your collaboration, your partnerships. And it's important, I know that for us as your representatives here in New South Wales, reach out to us, reach out to your local members as well, and continue to do the work that you're doing. But I know that what's very important to you is getting that education, the promotion, increasing awareness, and of course, medical research dollars. So thank you very much. It's great to have you here tonight. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the whole time, as I have a couple of other functions, and also there'll be a few divisions that you'll be hearing bells. But thank you once again for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie. It's now my pleasure to welcome Mr. Justin Clancy, the member for Albury, Parliamentary Secretary of Health, to address us on behalf of the Honourable Mr. Brad Hazzard, our New South Wales Minister for Health. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please give Mr. Clancy a round of applause.
Richard, thank you, and good evening. And Richard, thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you also for your acknowledgement of country. And I too pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, pay and acknowledge and pay my respects and acknowledge past, present and future elders. Thank you for being here this evening. To Sophie, thank you for your advocacy as parliamentary colleague, an area that you're passionate in this regard. Tara, welcome as well. But to all that are involved with the Brain Cancer Group and the Brain Tumour Alliance Australia, and I just want to lean on, if I may, on the Brain Cancer Group's 3 pillars, speaking about education, research and support. I just want to touch on that in that sense, firstly around the support, because I think this is a really important aspect in that regard. And meeting this evening people like Bernadette and Vince, who have lived experience of brain cancer. For myself, like you, Sophie, that touch point, my own personal journey in losing a friend and next door neighbour. Murray was 42 when he lost his battle, leaving behind a wife and 2 children. I know, and I touched on when I was talking to Vince and Steve and Norman before, I touched on my own family's personal journey. And I appreciate, in that sense, the importance of support for family, for those that are going through that journey, the absolute importance of that. I want to acknowledge in that regard all those that are associated with the Brain Cancer Group, the generous supporters, the board, the directors. I want to also acknowledge volunteers. In that regard, we're talking to Bernadette about the work that people like Bernadette does in terms of returning to the community through service and through volunteering in that regard. We know of the challenges when it comes to brain cancer. Whilst there are something like 600 cases of brain cancer diagnosed in New South Wales each year, the real challenge lies that across all cancers in New South Wales, we have a 71% survival at the 5-year mark. For brain cancer, that's actually 28%. So that probably reflects some of the real challenges that we face when it comes to dealing with brain cancer in that regard. So in acknowledging firstly the real impact that such a diagnosis can have on not just the individual, but those around them, their loved ones, we talk about those challenges, and I want to acknowledge those who respond to that challenge. And in that sense, I want to focus on the research that is done in that regard. I want to thank researchers such as Michael, who is presenting as keynote speaker here this evening, and the clinicians, because it is their work that is helping to overcome the obstacles that we face. And I passionately believe in the role, I was talking to Steve, who's the neuroanatomist earlier this evening, passionately believe in where research will take us in that regard. And Michael, you were speaking obviously on the molecular analysis, and that is, these are the advances that are going to shift us from a 28% survival rate to better outcomes for those with the lived journey. I want to acknowledge in that regard and thank Minister Hazzard. He sends his apologies and sends his best wishes. Just want to touch on, in that sense, in the investment that the New South Wales Government makes. We have something like $175 million in this financial year in the budget 2022-23 for cancer initiatives through the Cancer Institute New South Wales. Since 2011, there's been $312 million in cancer research through the Cancer Institute New South Wales. They're through competitive research grants, allows various grants. Importantly, a lot of them are related to also translational programs, so how we can convert that research into translation that actually impacts the lives of people with the lived experience. An example of that is the $3.75 million to a project led by Associate Professor David Ziegler, looking at new treatments such as immunotherapy, drugs targeting specific genetic mutations, and these again is where molecular analytics are going to take us, because it's allowing that precision medicine, that ability to identify bespoke markers, bespoke treatments that really allow us to hone in on the specifics of particular tumours. In that sense, the importance of this evening is to recognise all who are involved with the Brain Cancer Group and the Brain Tumour Alliance Australia. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you in particular for those who support the families on these journeys and support the individuals, those who promote education, but importantly, thank you for the research that is going to help drive better outcomes, better identification, better treatments for those who live on this journey. Thank you.